Hello, and hopefully we're back again, and this time you should be able to hear me, because for some reason my computer decided it wasn't going to recognise my audio interface. But hi! Happy Star Wars Day and welcome back to DragonBorn Industries. If you caught any of the stream earlier on, we were painting up this Cad Bane from Atomic Mass Games. This is for Star Wars Legion, and I figured it was a great day to do a stream of painting some Star Wars on. So let's celebrate. We started off with a Rhinox hide earlier today on the coat and the base of the leathers. And then we started off with a Cantor blue on the skin tones. And the skin tones is what's going to be really hard to get on this mini because there's a very small amount of areas to get. And all of those like little features that are in underneath that hat are really hard to see. But hopefully we'll be able to get in there. As always, if the volumes are too loud, too quiet, do let me know and I will do what I can to change them. Hopefully you can all hear me this time round, and yeah, we'll crack on. I'm going to start mixing up some electric blues from the Army Painter with some of the Wolf Grey, that's the word I'm thinking of, and then we're going to go to get to starting on those skin tones and hopefully pick out quite a few of those details. Oh, I haven't used that one in a while. So I'm just using a cocktail stick there just to get into the tip of that Army Painter bottle where I've not used this one for a while. I actually think it's relatively new, so I hope you've all had a good day. I certainly have. Been just chilling out painting this, which has been really fun. There we go. So, I'm going to give that a little bit of a mix and a thin down, and then I'm going to start mixing up some colours with it. So, just make sure we've got a decent amount in there. I'm going to clean the brush off, and then I'm going to start mixing. So we're taking a scoop, so it's like literally a scoop of that electric blue, and then we're going to take quite a hefty scoop of that Wolf Grey. I'm just going to mix them together in a palette, and then I'm going to add some water when I've got the desired tones. But what I'm hoping for is for the Wolf Grey to make this slightly dustier in terms of how it looks as a matte finish paint. And then we can start applying that to the higher areas of Cad Bane's face. Right. It's also where I'm going to have to get my nerd glasses out and try and keep Cad on screen for you while I do this. So, take a smidgen on my brush, and then I'm just going to go in there and try and just get those high points. They can be a little bit free with it, as we'll do the final highlight with the electric blue on its own. But we just want to get the centre of that chin, top of that big triangular facial plate that he has, and any of those like high-rise cheekbones. But there are also these face cowls, or like a sort of cover that's around the respirator pots that is in the way. So we will have to work around that, while also trying to remember not to go into the hat and get too much of it anywhere we don't want it. Because, as I was saying in the earlier stream, I was very good at putting this together and getting the base layers on, but what I forgot about was that underneath this hat was a whole face. And I really should have done it. Well, put the hat on afterwards, really. I'm just taking the tip of the brush just in there. It's quite literally. I'm not doing a massive amount. Oh god, there it is. It's just enough to catch those high areas. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. Certainly a better picture than earlier on was. If you go back and watch the VODs, you can see where I this particular camera was just miles away over the other side of the room, and I had it zoomed in and it was all fuzzy and it wasn't the greatest of quality. But we were just hanging out. So I'm going to start getting those fingertips. So all along like the tips of his fingers, well, the top edges of those fingers that have got the blaster in it. We're going to try and get those, especially like across the thumb, which is very exposed, and we can see that very clearly on the Mini. Oh, let's try and bring you up a bit. Gotta remember to get my position right. And again, I'm just doing that thing what I was talking about earlier, where I trace the line before I get to the Mini, and then when I eventually get there, even though it's a slow process, it means that I've got an accurate line, or as accurate as I can be. And I find I get a good result that way. So we're just going to trace that line for the thumb. Same again on the fingers. Hopefully you should start seeing the details coming through there. Yeah. So I'm going to go in and get his cheekbones again on this side. And I don't want to go too far because I really don't want to get any on those red eyes. So we put the base layer in for the eyes this afternoon. It was the last thing we did before we closed the stream. And I was on about how I try not to use washers in what I do, because I just get a better result without them and just layering up. So I find that I tend to add water to paints when I need them to sink into areas, and eyes is one of those prime areas that if you take a dab of paint, dab of water, sorry, then a dab of paint, you can get it to sink into the recesses of the eye sockets, and especially all around the outsides. So even with like the Knowles' minis for D&D, they do have like recessed eyes and eyeballs, and you can bring out a bit more detail by letting it sink in a bit more. So it's, suppose it's like the thickness of a contrast paint, but because I'm still not used to contrast paints, I still do it my way, and I tend to thin down inks or paints that I have. And then, while that's drying, I'm probably going to go back in and fix... Actually, am I going to do that just yet? I was going to go in and fix those, the face cloth that goes up onto the underside of his cheekbones, but actually, I'm going to wait until I've got the interior of the face done. The majority of the face done, and then I'm going to go in and do those last, because I think they're one of the highest standing points, so should mean that I don't ruin any of my face or those if I go in at the wrong times. What I will do then is I'm going to take some of that Rhinox hide that we had for the base coat, and then earlier on we layered it up with a 50-50 mix of XV88, which is one of my favourite go-tos for leathers, but not usually ones this dark like here on Cad. And I did a 50-50 mix, which I did a scoop and a scoop from my Regiment Army Painter paintbrush, which is one of my favourites. And then I mixed them together, added some water, and we got the layering starting to go on the browns, like especially on the top of the hat. You should be able to see the different tones that are coming in there. We want to keep that rough leather look. But I'm going to add 2 scoops of XV88 now and see what happens. Because I need to start making it lighter and really picking out those highlight areas. But I don't want to come too far away from the tones that we've already done, because I like that cartoon brown that I've almost got going on there. So a little bit of water next to that one. Right, I'm going to need 2 scoops of XV88. There's one. And I am cleaning off my brush each time as well, and that's just so that I don't, 1, contaminate my paints, and 2, I get a pure tone every time. So we've got a little bit of water in there, 1 scoop of Rhinox hide, and then 2 of XV88. And what I'll do is I'll mix those together, and then I'll show you where we're at with those. So just add a little bit more water. And I don't need much, because I'm quite literally doing this in a palette. So it should be, when I get to it, this one just here. This camera angle's odd for me. So we've got this paint just here, which compared to what we were using earlier, which is this brown drying puddle here, is relatively lighter. It still should be within the same tones. But the nerd goggles go back on. And then for my highlighting, I use the Artificer layer from Citadel. It's probably one of my favourite brushes for getting fine details. And then I really like the Psycho from the Army Painter, because that thing is, as described by it, psychotic to use. So with this brown, I'm picking out those top edges, those top highlights, to things like the chaps that he's wearing, the rim of his hat, kneecaps. I don't need to go too far with this because I did a lot of layering earlier on during this afternoon stream, but what I can do now is just bring out those extra bits, you know? Really make this look as formidable as he does during the Clone Wars. Hopefully you've all seen the Clone Wars series, and you've all watched The Bad Batch, and you've all seen the Book of Boba Fett, and you know who Cad Bane is. So right now I'm just going into those areas. You can see it on the kneecaps and you can see it on the top of the chaps. I'm going to try and get the lapels, so the very edges of the lapels and all of those like cornered bits as they flare out. And I'm trying to keep it to pretty much edge highlighting, really, and just anywhere that there's light going to be hitting. Doesn't need to be amazing, because the other browns, as we've layered up through these tones, should do the job for us. We just want to add another layer of depth, you know? Got to try and remember to keep it up high. It's interesting, my happy position is down there, but obviously with the camera focused where it is, I have to remember to keep my hands high. So do remind me in chat if you see me dipping. Give me a nudge. Say, hey, get back in view. Right. So do any of you play Cad Bane in your lists? Any of you play Star Wars Legion? Maybe you're coming here because you do play Legion and you're watching it on YouTube and seeing how I've painted up mine, or maybe you're just getting into Legion. That's sort of where I'm at as well, is I just wanted to paint Star Wars minis, and Legion was amazing. I've got some Imperial Assault. I've played a couple of games, but nothing too intense. Legion, I really wanted to just get it to collect the minis, but also eventually I do want to get into playing it, and I just haven't had the time yet. But I'm hoping that once I've got my Imperial army all together, to go down to my local game store and really get into it and try and bite my teeth into this game and this system, because I think it'd be quite cool if, from what I know, to try and implement this game into a few other, maybe like RPGs that are out there, like some of the Star Wars RPGs, or try and use like some of the minis in ways that I know that you can't really use minis for the Star Wars RPG, because I think it's more like Alien from Free League, in the sense that you have like a range and it's all more about the narrative and you talking about what's going on and describing your combat actions. But I really do like having minis at a table, and I think if I can do Star Wars the RPG and get some minis in there, maybe using Legion or Imperial Assault, especially the Imperial Assault board tiles, because they're gridded. I certainly know I'm going to be using them for Starfinder, which is one of the reasons that I wanted those particular games, because I could use those for D&D and for Starfinder. But with Legion, the minis are just too good. Really, really good. I think so far they've been the easiest things for me to paint. I did an Iden Versio, and she was so easy to paint. Really, really easy. And I found that even with their faces, because they're like that decent scale and there's like really good depth to them, and also the sculpting is just fantastic, that when I got to doing her eyes, which I'm super proud of, it was a lot easier than anything else I'd done before in terms of eyes. But at the same time, I guess it comes with practice a bit. I'm not the best painter out there, but I certainly enjoyed doing hers. I think hers was one of the first times I really properly tried using, it was actually the Rhinox hide as a base layer for skin tones, for Caucasian skin tones. And then I went up through the Katchan flesh ones, just layer by layer, really thinly. And then I try and leave like a dark spot around the eyes. I'm going to try and do it on Cad here as well with the blues, so that like it really makes the shape of the eyes pop out. I really liked that effect I got on Iden. She was really quite a pleasure to paint, and she's just a badass bitch. Really, really fucking cool. For those of you who haven't played Battlefront 2, I strongly advise playing it for the story, because it's really cool. Also, Inferno Squad are amazing. It's a very cool concept. And those of you who have seen The Mandalorian know about Project Necromancer. It's kind of in the same league as that. Like, the Emperor basically has just died. It takes place like just after the defeat of the Empire at Endor, or the Forest Moon of Endor, and yeah, the Emperor issues orders Operation Cinder to take place, which is pretty brutal, but it's a good game. Obviously, speaking of games, Jedi Survivor. I can't play it yet. I haven't got it. That's alright. We'll get it. We'll get it in time. I think it's going to be really good. My eldest son has currently started playing Fallen Order, because I think he's seen a few YouTube shorts of Cal on the YouTubes. He's also recently bought like a little Lego minifigure lightsaber hilt of Cal Kestis's. I'm starting to become a bit enamoured with the character, which is really cool, because he is my favourite Jedi. So I'm gutted I'm not playing it, but I hope those of you that are playing it are having a really good time. I've heard very good things about it. I'm all about the story when it comes to Star Wars. So if we can get more stories like that of Cal Kestis, like that of Obi-Wan and Andor. They're the kind of stories that I really, really like. I suppose that's why I really like Cad Bane, and it's why, like, even though I haven't played a game yet, I picked up the mini. I just liked him in the series. I liked him in Clone Wars and Bad Batch, and I liked him when he turned up in Boba Fett. And I just think he's such an iconic-looking character that, he's got that Western gunslinging, brown leathers, blue skin. It's so dystopian sci-fi. And it's pretty cool. Gonna keep on trucking with him though, because I'm trying to get all these browns done. There we go. So we've got some of those brighter areas, especially like on the top of those chaps, those kneecaps. We've got some around the back of the cloak there. Really trying to just add some dust and some wear and tear to the coat there. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to try and do the hat. But what I might do is get a straight edge out. I think I'm going to try and line the edge of the hat using that. If it goes wrong, well, fuck it, it's my mini. And I'll cry and I'll buy a new one. Right. Where have all my straight edges gone? Uh-oh. Well, I know what I need to buy. That will do. Right. I need some kitchen roll. And then... So I think I will probably go through this layer and then I will try and make another batch of this brown, but I'm going to add another scoop. Another! Of that XV88. And we should start seeing some like cartoon style highlights to the areas. That's brush no go. Let's try this one. There it is, that's what we want. So all I'm doing is I'm going around the edge of the hat. And it really is the edge, and you should see that. You can see that definitive bright line. That's what I'm after. Still within the same tones. Still within fitting the paint scheme we're going for. But I am trying to keep this as downstrokes. That way it's all viewed from the top, hopefully. As we don't tend to look up at our minis, we tend to look down at them. I know there's a lot of detail under Cad Bane's hat with his face, but on the table, what we're going to see is that angle, and that's why we want that. Ooh, let's go that way. Line to hopefully just about see it on there. Then I'm going to hit the top of the hat with it as well. Because the top of the hat, not only did we make a mistake earlier in the day and we had to cover it up, but obviously that's where the most light would be hitting. So I'm just going to try and gently come in from the side. You go that way over. I'm going to turn it that way. And basically I want to come at 4 different angles here. And that way, hopefully I shouldn't have any brush strokes. Also, you've got that nice area there. And then, finally, there are like these raised and lowered areas of the hat. That's obviously like they've tried to simulate movement there. So I'm going to try and get like those, what looks like wings at the side and these like higher apexes of the curb. And this one's going to be like a very light dry brushing. Coming in from the edge, just pulling back away. And if needs be, we can go over it again and again, but shouldn't overly need to, really. So it should have quite a rich brown tone to it. Now, I think it's coming along quite nicely. So, I'll wash my brush off and then we will work out what's happening as the face should be ready for its next few bits. I think I'm going to go in and do those eyes again. So, with Cad, he's got these stunning red eyes underneath that I don't know if you're going to see that without a better torch. Maybe if I use this one from the other side. That might be too bright. No, you're not going to see that on this camera. But those sunken in eyes there, I have actually done them in red, and there you go, that's probably the best we're going to get. But I really want those to pop, and I really want those to come out and be just really deep. I really want them to say that this mini's looking alive, not just cartoony, but you know, really menacing. Cad Bane's got those red eyes that really do put fear into people. So we're going to take some Jacaro orange and some Army Painter pure red. I'm going to start with the pure red. A little tidge of that into my palette, and then I'm going to add some pure water. Clean that brush off. And then we will add just a little bit, small scoop, the Jacaro orange. And mix those two together. What should end up with, it's about 2 to 1, so 2 on the pure red, 1 on the Jacaro orange. I'll try and show you what we get to. Should be, so that's the pure red and that's the Jacaro orange. This one just there in the centre now. They look kind of similar on there, but there is a difference, promise you. And then we're going to use that Jacaro orange to basically work our way up to a small orange flare-like across his eye. Hopefully with the red to orange we should see some more depth. This time I'm not thinning down that paint too much. I really don't want to have to go too far. And I really want this to just be the tiniest of dabs. Because it's in a nice awkward position, So I guess I'm treating this like pupils in the sense that like I'm trying to get closer to the bridge of the nose, because I find that if I do that technique rather than try and go for the centre of the eye, I tend to be more accurate in getting them central. So I realise he's upside down and you can't really see his face as I go in and do this, but just trying to keep a steady hand. So I don't know if this will be picked up by the camera. No, it's not going to focus on it that. Maybe about there. I don't think you can see it. It's very subtle. A small bit of orange in the very, very corners of the eyes. I'm just going to go in again once more, just to brighten it up a little bit. Less paint on my paintbrush. I mean, it is literally the tip of my artificer brushes. That's probably too much. I'm going to knock that back a little bit. There we go. So there's that bit. And once more, try and get in there. There we go. So, I have slightly gone over onto his cheekbone, well, I say his lower eyelid, but because I did it in that dark blue to begin with, I can go back over and just add that dark blue in. Which is one of the other reasons I really like leaving an area around the face, or around the eyes, that's just dark. Because if we make a mistake, we can go back in with our darkest colour and cover it up. It's usually like whites or bright colours that we make those mistakes with. But this is where I do have to be careful not to go over the eyeball. Even it up on the other side. Yeah, there we go. What I'm doing now, just a little bit of the excess of that blue that I've got. I realise with such a pronounced nose plate, I could probably go in there and go down the edges of the sides, or the sides and the edges of the nose, and anything that goes over I can then just brush away and push off again. And actually, I'm very happy with how that's coming together. So, hopefully you should start to see. There you go, those eyes are starting to show through there. I wonder if I bang on the autofocus. Properties. Right, so I'm going to try something here. There we go. So with that autofocus, you should be able to see. Come on. Let's take those off for a minute. There you go, those red eyes. Come on. Had it working a second ago. There it is. There you go. So we have the red eyes coming through and those dark blue spots under the eyes. Oh, stay focused. I want to show you off. There you go. You should be able to see that there until it goes out of focus again. So I'm now going to take autofocus back off. Let's readjust that. There you go. Let's apply that. Okay. So should see Cad starting to look a bit more together. So I need to go in and need to do his gauntlets, or those braces that he wears, and I need to go in and do that breathing respirator that he uses, and then I need to go in and tidy up the black bits that come across from his respirators onto his cheekbones. And that'll probably be one of the last bits. Oh, actually, no, I might do those now. I say it's one of the last bits I do, and he instantly changes his mind. Because if I do those now, I can then highlight the skin up a bit better. So, I'm going to get my Black Templar out. I was saying earlier in the day, this is probably one of my favourite paints. This is one of the contrast paints from Citadel, and it's one of the only contrast paints I can use quite well, because I struggle, believe it or not, with the contrasters. I quite like the original ones, and I think I'm so used to those original paints that I struggle to work out how I'm supposed to layer up and how I'm supposed to do things with the contrasts. And maybe I'm not supposed to, maybe I'm overthinking it, but so far I've not been able to get my head around it, which is really annoying, because there are other people out there who are phenomenal at it, and hats off to him, because I think this stuff's a really great idea and I think it's incredible. Right, go slightly over there, but luckily it's a contrast paint. I can just suck up anything that's gone over. It's in a nice recess as well, actually, so it's not going to be too bad. Too much on my brush. Thanks. So I can just put a little bit near the centre and then I can push it out towards the edges of where I need it to be. There we go, that's starting to look a bit more pronounced on his face. Hopefully you guys can see that. Right, I'm going to start work on the gauntlets. So I know that they're metallic and they're blue, as the references that I was using, but what I'm going to do is actually leave them as just the Cantor blue, and then I'm going to hit them up with a teeny tiny sponge and just do some light weathering, I think. So let us get a sponge. So a local interior design store was really kind to let me have a load of foam from offcuts that they had for their customers and from their projects, and they were really kind because I was building the studio at the time and I needed soundproofing, and it was really good soundproofing. But it's also really good as a weathering sponge. So I'm going to use one of those. I might even have to cut it down further than that, because that is still quite big for the Mini. If I just use that tip. Yeah, okay, we're going to do that. So, we need our lead belcher. And we'll do some weathering. Right, and now I've got used to having the glasses on, I'm going to have to put them back on again. If you're getting blinded in the other camera or the other small screen, then stop watching me. Watch Cad. Right, so I've got like the tiniest amount on the tip of that sponge. What I'm going to do is I'm taking like that gauntlet there, that bracer that he has. Especially those corners, those sharp corners. Add little dabs, little random splodges of weathering to it. And I probably will keep them in a downwards motion most of the time, so it looks like they've been scraped against things. But already, just that, we are starting to look. Should find the right focus now. There it is. So it's like a bit more pronounced. We want to do this anywhere that there would be metalwork, but it is mostly those bracers. You can really see how little I've used in terms of what was on the brush. I can't say the brush, the actual applicator, which is the sponge. And yeah, hopefully, because I think that gauntlet's looking, or that one is looking the best, should be able to see where is the best focus. Probably around there. That weathering really starting to show through on those computer terminals on his arm. So now we can go in and we can do those buttons, the tubes, all of that. Good greebles. Right, let's get some more lead belcher for a second, because I've just seen there are these little tiny tubes. I've already got most of them earlier. There's actually a couple of little connecting bits. So I'm just going to take a dab of water, a little bit of lead belcher, and I'm going to let a lot of that come off. Just quite a bit of water on there. And then we're going to, there's this tube around here. Follow those rivets and lines. But I don't want to get too far into every bit because they are very finite. I want to give them some definition. I actually forgot that I need to do his respirator, and that is also going to be done with a highlight of lead belcher, because I think that will just stand out, those metallics against the natural browns. So what's quite nice is that respirator breathing tube is in sections, so it's quite easy to just pick out the highest points and leave the black in the gaps. All I want to do for now. I don't want to go too far, so I don't think I've got the skill level to do edge highlighting on all of those, but hopefully what it should leave us with is a visible area of segments that we can pick out with our eyes. We're just going around, doing the same thing on the other side. Eat, sleep, repeat. Just those high points, just not into those deeper recesses between the segments. Same again for the sides. A bit heavier on those because they're going to be more on show than the rest of it. And again, around this area here. So we should have those different sections of respirator showing up. Hopefully you can see those. See, earlier on we did the bandolier as well around his midriff. Just going to go in and touch up some areas on that hat as well. There's like a few metal panels on there, and I just want to make sure the very fronts are as together as I can get them. While trying to keep them smooth, because I really want those bits to reflect. I don't want to go so far to get it too far up onto the hat. Hopefully. There you should see those up there. That's going to reflect nicely on the table. So what have we got left to do? We've got the control buttons to do on his braces, so we're going to go in and do those. So I'm going to get a reference up for those because I want to make sure that I get them relatively right. So we should be able to see that here's, if that'll show up. Oop. There we go. That's what we're going to go for. That white buttons across the top, and then we've got the red, the yellow, and then a white and a red down there. So yeah, should be pretty simple. Let us grab. Can work out, maybe I should dry brush those whites on, but I'm not going to. No. This is matte white from the Army Painter. Another one that I like a lot. Oh, let's put Cad back on the screen there for you. A bit warm. Right. I'm going to go back to, this time I'm going to it's a art shop brush. This is a really fine tip. It's not quite the Psycho tip. Oh, that's a bit frayed. So you should see how fine that tip is. We're going to go in with that. That's going to be our best bet. And I'm not going to thin this paint down, although I probably should. I think that the adhesion that I'm going to get from it with such a small amount, I don't want it to run everywhere. And it's quite literally like, that's how much I've got on the tip. Just going to trace those lines before I get there. Yeah. I thought I would have to load the brush already, but actually that's done all four of those quite nicely. So, I'm going to clean. We're going to go again. This time on the other side. Small itty bitty bit on that. And we're going to try once more to keep it as neat as possible. Gonna have to load up again. Ooh, it's too much. Right. There we go. You should have 4 white lines on there as well. So that's the main 4 of both gauntlets on. Then we have the bottom left circle. There's also white according to my picture. I'll take a tiny bit on that. Yeah, I can see it. But just there. Tiny little strokes to try and get tiny little dots. Same again, hopefully the paint hasn't dried off on the tip yet, because when you do load up a small amount, it does dry fast. Yeah, so they already need to wash and re-go. Reload the very tip of that paintbrush. There. Just those bits. So, what have we got next? We've got a red. Really, really small red. I'm going to use the pure red for that one. Once more, just taking that very small tip. And it is the top of those 2 buttons. Very minute. I'm going to go again on the other side. Just trying to kiss it ever so slightly. So then his left one is, underside of his arm is red, upside of his arm looks like a, kind of like a Zandari dust maybe. I don't want to go too far. I just want the very, very tops of those buttons. Because even with my glasses on, I can only just see that, like, they recess down into the Mini quite a bit. That's very, very defined. Let's find our Zandari dust. There it is. It's been a while. But I think that this is going to pull out the other colour on that. Oh, pulled over my camera. So I'll put my hat over there then, I guess. There we go. Let's turn that around. Where are you? There you are. Lovely. Yeah, so we want that Zandari dust. Should hopefully be able to see those red bits there on the gauntlet. Just grabbing that very tip of the brush back on with the dental goggles. Oh, I've actually split the tips of the bristle apart there. So I'm going to restart that without those being apart. So I'm just going to end up with little lines everywhere that we don't want. I definitely think Zandari dust was the right way to go on this one. Just kissing it on the other side too. Kiss it. And that should be if you can see those, the buttons on those braces done. And they are really small details on there. That's hard to see without the dental goggles on. Right, I need to go in and start pulling out some more of the details then. So there's a way that I'm going to do this is I talk about how I don't use washers and how I just try and layer up and go from there in terms of trying to get the depth and that detail that we want. But with this paint, the Black Templar, whoop, what I have found is that somebody on YouTube had suggested doing lines of this between areas. So if you imagine under the belts, underneath any kind of areas where there's separation between clothes or items, we can use the Black Templar to add shadowing. And it's basically like using it like a shade, but just for those like darker lines. Hello, Dragon School Studio. Good to see you. Nice of you to drop by. How are you, my friend? Right, just gonna load up. Yeah, I've not got much on there. It's a tiny little bit. And I'll just show you with, if I get the chaps. Just gonna go there. I know you guys can't overly see that there, but comfortable lines and all that. I'm just pulling that Black Templar through those, and because we did a base layer, or we used our primer, our black primer as our base layer, hopefully you should then see the definition between the chaps and the trousers as the contrast black picks them out. Yeah, I'm really good. Thank you, Craig. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow night. For those of you who don't know, this is Dragon School Studios. I met them through Band of Badgers, who we will get back to the epic brush off soon. We just don't know when that's going to be yet. And Craig here is one of the other painters on the show. And he has got his own channel. This is Dragon School Studios. And tomorrow night, which is the 5th, Revenge of the 5th, we will be streaming together. We've got some WizKids minis to stream, haven't we, Craig? At least I'm doing a WizKids mini. Are you doing the same one? Yes, we do. Yeah, I think it's going to be really fun. I've, annoyingly enough, I have had something not turn up. I've been doing a piece of terrain, which started out just because I wanted to do some some pillars. And I really wanted to end up turning this into like a lich layer floating island. And I've been waiting for the stand to turn up, which is an acrylic donut stand. I was hoping to like reveal the whole piece tomorrow night and have like the throne and stuff, sit down on it, but unless it turns up tomorrow, I can't do that. But either way, I'm going to have a lot of fun painting up that mini ready for that project with you tomorrow night, my friend. And I was saying to other people earlier on, if the levels at all are wrong, or if any of the volumes and whatnot are in or out, let me know and I'll adjust them. As when we started the stream, there was no sound at all. Not one little bit. Thanks to Fluffy Cat Poof, we managed to sort it out. Them's the joys of streaming, I guess. So, I started adding in those black lines underneath the belt, in the middle of the belt, on the chaps, and now I'm going to go like down the holsters and trying to get in between some of those lines just to really put that separation between items and clothing and areas of the mini into place. Put the boots here. Oh mate, I can't wait to show you. It's I'm gutted it's just been sat in my kitchen, but the actual like stonework's all done. I just need to put it together once I've got the final thing, and I'm trying to make the platform be. One way up is a rocky bit of terrain that you can use for any sort of any game really, wargaming to D&D to whatever takes your fancy, sci-fi to fantasy. Whereas the other side of it, once you put the acrylic stand in, should make it a hovering island, and that's really been all off the cuff really. I wasn't expecting to do it, but had some time, took some me time to do it, and then hyper focused in, So let's see if that lapel's showing up. So you should be able to. There you go. So you should see on the left lapel with his hand that's arched backwards. We're just putting in those dark lines back underneath the lapel, and then as well underneath the bag strap there to try and bring back the definition between the two. Yeah, it is good to have a sound tech on hand. I shouldn't laugh though, because technically I am one, but we solved it. I think Fluffy Cat proves a little bit more qualified than I am. Right. So I'm going to do something I don't normally do as well, as I'm going to add it on the top line here as well, just because I really want that bag strap to stand out. I really want it to pop off the mini, because it's an ever so slightly different brown, because we added that red in there and that fur brown. I really want it to stand out and be very defined. So hopefully, there you go, you should see that. But that's all the contrast paint. That Black Templar, putting that underneath those really pronounced areas really does bring it out. It's such a good technique that somebody showed me, and yeah, that's actually where I spend most of my time, and that's why I don't wash minis anymore. I just tend to paint the layers up and then use this to pull out those areas to make them pop. As you say there, Craig, we do like minis to pop. So I need to go down to this side of the bag now. The only trouble I found with this mini is, so this side of the bag there, that strap, because obviously it comes away from the body, they're not going to just make it a loose strap with a hole through it, because it's just such a thin bit of plastic. So they have joined it into the coat there, and trying to get the separation between the two there is going to be hard, but we're trying, and we'll hopefully nobody will pick us apart for that. But we will tell them to F off, because it's my mini! It's my toy! So around the bag here is where we need to get a really fine line for it. Because it's such a pronounced item, it's doing its own shading as we brought up through the browns. And then I don't need to do too much, but I definitely still want to give it that same treatment as everything else, but I don't want to take too much of the highlighting that we've done away. I'm really having to go very gentle on this bit, just to make sure we don't swamp one of the better details on the mini. There's too much on my paintbrush there, so we need to adjust. Yeah, there we go. So now, yeah, holsters, that's where we need to get. I'm going to go down those. That was too much, so we're going to wash some of that off while it's still wet. Add some water to that and just dilute it down. And then we'll come back on that one when that's dried. So that's one of the good things about the contrast paints, I will say, is that although I don't know how to use them, I do know how to clean them up. I think that's come from learning through many, many failures. But like I said, I really do enjoy the contrast for doing the jobs like this. So have you seen much of Cad Bane in the series then, Craig? I don't know if you've seen the Clone Wars or if you've seen Bad Batch and stuff. Yeah, Fluffy, sorry, I keep remembering that it's like my happy place to paint is down there, but where the camera is up here, so I'm trying to remember to wedge my arm on the table and paint in in the camera view. Yeah, they're one of my favourites too. I think that like watching Rebels for me was like, I put it off for so long because I was like, oh, it's a kids show by Disney when it first came out, and I just yeah, I avoided it, and then I watched it and I was blown away by Dave Filoni's storytelling. I think that his way of, you know, it is a kids show, but it is Star Wars, and it's very, very good. And I very much like that he's not scared to let characters go. Because I think when you realise, hang on a minute, these Jedi aren't in A New Hope or in any of the other canon stuff. Oh, uh-oh. Yeah, he's a good writer. I think what I might do is try and zoom out a little bit on that camera just to try and see what that's like. So let's see if we can stop ourselves from dipping too low. That's going to be there. I'm going to come down to there. Hopefully, I should stop dipping too low then. Let's apply that. Right, let's try there. Hopefully, although when it stood up, you can't see as much when I'm painting. How's that picture, guys? If I'm in a comfortable position down here, can you guys see that? Awesome. I'm trying out some different camera positions for tomorrow, Craig. I was streaming earlier in the day, and I was using the PTZ, which is all the way across there, and it was like zoomed in, but it was so fuzzy. It's just for something so small, I realised that I had to get in real close, and yeah. Right. Cool. Looking good to you guys. Thank you, Fluffy. Thank you, Dragon Skull Studios. That's a cool name, by the way, dude. I really do like the name of that. It's well, very fitting for me. So where did you come up with the name? Or is that questions we should ask tomorrow? So what I'm trying to do at the moment is I'm going around a lot of the areas in that recessed area of the trousers. So we've got all around the chaps there, but also we're going down the center line just to one side of that zipper area, and then all the way up those insides of those holsters to really try and darken that area, but only around the edges. That way, hopefully, it retains the brightness where we need it. But manages to look sunk in enough that it is in a separate area. Oh, cool. Yep, skeletons and zombie stuff is pretty cool. Not gonna lie, I think anybody who's in our niche of, you know, games, TV, films, you know, Dragon School Studios is going to be pretty recognisable as something they're going to want to take part in. So yeah, great name. So what I'm trying to do now is go across the boots, and where he's got his like jump jets, I need to separate those out from the little metal bits on the boots themselves. And again, I'm still just using that Black Templar contrast paint. This is quite literally like line work, but you're putting the line work in afterwards. There you go. Well, that one's a bit, it's odd, whereas this one's like very well sculpted. I will say that this other side is a bit, I don't know, pushed into the model and slightly askew. I don't know if that was a sculpting error, or if that was overlooked in the design, or maybe that's just how it's supposed to be. Maybe it's just like the backpack, the only way they could do that area. Just going to go in and fix that area that I had to dilute earlier. Adding those shadows in the underside of the holster. Inside the coat. Little tidy up there. Awesome. So, I actually don't think I'm too far away from done. I'm gonna add some more lead belcher to that bit of the hat. I didn't realise I'd gone over it slightly. Oh, that's Rhine oxide. Let's not add that one. Lead belcher. There you are. Right. So it's just that bit there. I went a little bit over when I was putting on the last layer of brown earlier. Everywhere else seems to be fine. That's nice and smooth. And that's what we want on metallics. So, let's have a look at the rest here. Right, what have we got? So I need to go in and I need to do the highlights on the boots, and I need to do the highlights on the face. Let's see if I can angle you up slightly. Let's go there. So, these boots have these awesome straight line ridges to the front of them, and his face, obviously we've got that perfect triangle to highlight up there, and that's going to be with my electric blue as I did the electric blue in the wolf grey earlier. I'm just going to bring out that dustiness with that electric blue because it's a nice satin kind of matte. And then I'm probably, with the boots, I think I will do either Mechanicus grey or a mix of Mechanicus grey and black. I think that will bring out enough but not be too in your face. I think I want to keep the darks on this mini quite subtle. So yeah, okay, it's going to be Mechanicus grey and it's going to be Chaos black. So this is the Army Painter Chaos black from the Game Master Starter set. It's a really good black and it matches their colour primer. I believe it also matches the TT Combat colour primer, as is in the industry tell me they're made in the same place. And I do like those two primers. I tend to favour black primer more than grey or white. Oh, I'm nearly out of this black. Oh, here we go. I'm actually having to open the pot. Oh, it's all there. Cool. We're all good. Unclog that later. Right. I was going to clean up my hands before I get black everywhere. Yeah, I've heard through the grapevine that TT Combat and the Army Painters black primers are, well, their primers are done by the same company, so, or in the same factory, not too sure. But I know that I really like both of them. They are my standard go-tos for primer. I do tend to use black more than I use white and grey, mainly because it hides mistakes well. That's all there is to it with me. I find that although browns, you can get a really rich brown by going white first, I actually really like having the black and then dry brushing on like the Rhinox hide or oak brown or something dark and then highlighting it up from there to get to where we are with this. And I really like that kind of tone. I know that with whites you do get a brighter colour and stuff, and maybe for some of the brighter minis that we do, I might do it for those, but it's very rare. Sometimes I zenithal with an airbrush, and that is, again, it's a bit of a rarity, to be honest. I think because I've become so favourable as it is at the moment on just black primer, I tend to you know, stick to what you know, really. Right, so I've got a scoop of Mechanicus grey. I'm going to wash off the brush. Take a dab of water, put that next to it. I'm going to take a scoop of black. I'm just going to mix those together. So this was a technique that I saw on a Warhammer painting video, and it was to mix black with other colours when you're trying to highlight black. And I hadn't thought about it, and there was me trying to like use greys or blues and try and change the look of things, and actually I didn't realise that, stupidly, it's as simple as add the colour of the shade that you want to the black and you'll get there, including like reds, greens, blues. It's mad how much of a difference it all makes. Hopefully with this camera you guys will see it when we get to a little bit of a close-up on it. It's nice and subtle. And it's quite literally just those 3 lines in there, but it's just enough to give it some depth on those boots. So, we've done that bit. Now, it's time to get the electric blue out and just do the highlights on the face. And then Cad Bane is almost done. So, I'm actually not going to thin this down for the top highlight. I'm just going to use a very small amount of it. Again, we're just going to do that little tippy tap. Little tippy tap and pull back. tracing that line before we make contact with the mini. Load up again and take quite a bit off. It's more going in. This is almost like edge highlighting. As I said in the earlier streams, blue skin tone is not my best work, and this is a good excuse to practice that. So that's the majority of the face done. Just want to get that high cheekbones off to one side. Just so I can follow that line down. Same on the other side. Just above where the mask meets the face. And below where we kept that dark lines under the eyes. Okay, that I believe is the face. You'll see that. There you go. So those red eyes with a little bit of orange in there. We've got the lines coming down the edge. You can't overly see the mouth, but there's a very thin lip that we've had to paint as well, and try and leave those dark lines in the center. So I need to go over the fingers and get those little areas that would just catch those knuckles, those fingertips, maybe the nails. Actually, haven't thought about what colour his nails would be. Are they white? Are they a bright blue? I'll have to check the reference. Unless anybody can tell me right now. Load up again, and we're quite literally putting a very, very small amount on the tip. I mean, that's probably more than I want. Now, thanks, Dragon Skill. I will take the compliments. Nom 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 nom. Actually going to get a little bit there as well. Load up again. Way too much. There we go. There it is. Hopefully, should be able to see those on there, and I'll get some glamour shots of that for Instagram. But I think, minus putting the black around the base, we're almost there. This is it. Final stretch. So, for those of you who weren't around for when I did the bases, These are my Star Wars Legion ones are a mix of the premier bases that the premium bases that you can get directly from Atomic Mass Games, or Asmodee, or whatever you get your Star Wars Legion things from. But I ended up printing a load out as well. I think War Scenery had a Kickstarter. It was a little while back now, actually, and I backed it, and it was like Ferrix style buildings, which I really wanted for Starfinder, but I also knew I was going to be getting into Legion at some point, so I need to get to printing those. But I've got a few cosplay bits that we're doing first. But yeah, I really enjoyed. Basically, I went black as always. Then we dry brushed with lead belcher, and then we just used some of the Army Painter Rust, which is one of their effect paints, but it comes out quite bright. And then we went over it with a airbrush of sepia ink, and what you end up with is this kind of like rusted, grimy floor. And I really wanted that Coruscant-esque underworld look to it. It's actually the same sort of stuff that I did on my Sci-Fi DM screen, which, when put together, the different tones of orange, which I know is unfocused there, I think it looks cool. And I kept seeing loads of Legion minis with grass tufts and stuff, which was all very cool. And I think my first speeder bikes were done in such a way, but I ended up really wanting to go with the urban look, and that's what we've done. I actually need to show off, and I'll probably try and get a picture of them either later today or tomorrow, is my Z74 speeder bikes that I did in white. They were a random test that I wanted to do, and I ended up really loving that scheme. And I figured, actually, I give those some urban bases rather than swamp or Endor or anything like that. And yeah, I think it worked out really well. So I'll put some pictures up of those on my Insta when I get them to a decent place to take photos with a nice backdrop. So at the moment, they're just in my kitchen in the cupboard. But I would say, minus waiting for that to dry, we have one Cad Bane. There it is. Hope you guys, whether on Twitch or on YouTube, have enjoyed watching me paint that up. Maybe you've learned something, maybe you haven't. Maybe you can teach me something. Put it in the comments if you're on YouTube. Do all the usual jazz that people ask you to do. But that is my Cad Bane. I'm pretty proud of it. So thanks for tuning in, and until next time, we'll see you around. Cool. Hey guys, so I've stopped the recording, but I'm just still on Twitch for a minute. Just thought I'd say thanks for tuning in. Yeah, that's the stream. We'll put this up on YouTube now that we've managed to get the details done and stuff. But yeah, thanks for coming along. It's been really quite a chilled session. Fluffy, as always, thanks for sound engineering and for telling me when something sounds stupid or when something sounds good. Craig, I suppose we should get ready to test ours out, really. Awesome. Did you want to do it on Discord? You know, you're running the show here. I will jump off this in a second, and then I will follow your lead if you tell me what to do. Awesome. Hopefully I should get that in a minute then. Perfect. Right, what I will do is I will sign off with Twitch then, and then we'll see you guys hopefully in the next couple of days, as we should hopefully be streaming some more. I've got a little Imperial Assault Boba Fett sat here, so I might do that one tomorrow. But I don't know. Been nervous doing that one, so yeah. Right, I'm going to sign off. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Bye!